Okay, we're back to talk about, oh, I just lost something. Sorry, folks. Okay, we're back to talk about how you're going to set yourself up for success this semester. I know for some of you, this is your first class in your program, possibly your first hybrid class. Others of you have gotten quite skilled with hybrid and online learning. But I want to first let you know that this is my first teaching of a hybrid course. I spent a lot of time developing this course in the seated version, and I've taught it a number of times for, I think, at least once a year for the past 7 years, sometimes twice a year. And so the content and the design of it I know very well, but the hybrid aspect of it is relatively new to me. So we will probably experience some hiccups, and we'll kind of support each other in trying to make these things work well. And I'll also ask for your feedback from time to time to help me make the course better for future students. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be using in this hybrid format. So first, we're going to be using Blackboard, which a lot of you are quite familiar with, I saw from our survey. And this course is set up in Blackboard, and I'll show you how you're going to proceed through the modules in this course. All right. Let me pull up Blackboard and look at that. There's our Blackboard. Okay. There's my little video introducing myself for this semester. Okay. So I lost what I okay, remember that patience thing? We're all being very patient with each other. Okay, so the way that this course is set up is that from the day after a seated session until the next seated session, you'll complete one module. So I'm going to go ahead and go into content and show you the modules, okay? So we already went over that there's 7 modules in the class. And this is module 1. You notice that for each module, it's going to be set up exactly the same way. Okay, it's going to show you the title of the module and the topics that we're going to be covering in that module. And this will require that you read and watch a variety of things that I've posted for you. And you'll also do some online activities like discussion boards and other things within each of the modules. For the most part, this is asynchronous, which means that it doesn't matter what time of day or even what day you do a lot of these things, as long as you post things when you're supposed to post them. So let's go into the first module, and I'll just kind of show you how this works. The very first thing you're going to want to do when you start any module is you're going to want to open up this overview and entrance tickets, because it's directions. Didn't really need to reopen that, but it's directions for it shares with you the module content, the topics and the topic objectives that I've set for you. And then you have a module to-do chart. And this is exactly the order in which I've designed for you to do these things so that it makes sense and how they connect, and you're kind of building your background knowledge as you get into each thing. So you'll see some articles here. You'll see like, okay, read this, then post this little discussion board, read this. And a lot of these things are short things. Like you may think, oh my God, is each one of these like a 20-page article? No, I've collected a lot of different resources. And so you'll see, I'll be like, here, read these 5 pages, or just look at this figure, or this kind of thing. And we also split up a lot of the reading. So I understand that 17 items may seem like, crazy, but it's not, these are not all very long things. Okay. So anyway, you're going to follow the module to-do chart. Read, post, begin a particular activity, etc. All right. And then this is the module 1 seated class entrance ticket. So for each module, you'll need to complete this little thing. All right. So, for example, it says be prepared to discuss, should elementary teachers be using a content literacy approach or a disciplinary literacy approach in their classrooms, and why? So my expectation is that you'll, in order to be prepared to discuss, you'll jot down a couple of notes. okay, so that you're ready to talk about this when we come to class. And that goes for any of these things where it says be prepared to discuss. I'm expecting that you'll jot down some notes, okay, or be prepared to reflect. Same thing, that you'll type some notes into here. You'll also notice sometimes I'll say be prepared to share. Like you're going to be reading, for example, for Module 1, you're going to be reading some social studies practices and some science practices, and then you're going to share those with your group. So you need to be prepared to kind of provide a little summary. All right. And notice that these are, each one of these entrance tickets sub areas or subtitles, these are the different topics. So I'm asking you to do a little bit to be prepared for the seated class in each topic. Okay? So you're going to type a little bit in there, and then this needs to be submitted. And you can make this its own separate thing if you want to, but I don't care if you just type into this and save it as your own and then submit it online. That's fine. You don't have to delete all this other stuff. Okay? Anyway, so you submit that midnight, at midnight, the night before you go to your seated class. Okay, so that's the first thing you open up when you start a module. Let's see. Let me look back at that again. My apologies. Okay, so notice that in the online work for the module, each folder tells you what it is, or has all the articles and things like that you need to do. It also has links to the discussion board. You're going to be split into groups, table groups, which we'll figure out in the first seated class, who's in your group. And then you're going to, links to everything that you need to read and do or watch. These are all posted within the folder that says online work. Okay? Let's see. So when you're doing the online work, again, it's asynchronous. You can do it in the middle of the night. You can do it whenever it is that you need to do it, as long as things are posted when they need to be posted. Because there are times when others will be relying on you to post things so that they can reply or add in their part. And I'll have specific things that you need to have ready for the seated session, which we already talked about. And having those things completed will make it possible for you to participate in the activities in our seated sessions and to understand what's going on. I'll expect that everyone has done the entrance ticket when they come to class, to the seated class. So each seated session is a time when we do a lot of active learning. My goal for those seated sessions is to have you applying what you've worked on throughout the 13-day period online in that module. You'll be using the content with others in class by participating in a variety of activities. And this will also be a time when you'll see me modeling some things that I want you to understand and start to be able to do yourselves. There will be very few times when you're simply sitting and listening to me. It's just not really that type of class. And I want to use our seated class time to go beyond like gathering information. All right, I want to talk a little bit more about how the module is set up online. So we went through that you start with the overview and entrance ticket, that all your online, all your links for submitting things and for articles and videos and whatnot are all in your folder there. The seated work for Module 1, that's going to contain materials that we use in the seated class session. So like the PowerPoint, if I use a PowerPoint in class, handouts that I'll give you, things that we create together in class, because we actually I track kind of our class discussions, and so I'll post all those things after the seated class. So right now you'll see it's empty because we haven't had the seated class yet. So every module will have a folder that I'll put that stuff in after the seated class. So every module will also have this discussion board called Module 1 clunks. And a clunk, like a click is I get it, I understand. A clunk is I don't get this. I don't understand what the heck they're talking about. So this is where you post questions and confusions you have about the content of the module. Okay, so if you're reading, something and you're coming along, you're like, I don't even understand what they're saying here. I want to know that because that's something that then I want to help with. So, or that you can help each other with as well. So if you jump into that discussion board and you see someone's question or confusion and you can clarify it, please do, because I want us all to support each other. If you have the same question or confusion that someone else does, I also want to know that, because that helps me see that there's a trend in confusion, and then I'll definitely bring that up in a seated class, because if a couple of people are saying, hey, I don't understand this, then chances are there's even more than a couple. So I'll help out with that in our seated session. So I'm subscribed to these Clunk discussion board forums. So I'll know when something gets posted there, and I'll reply to messages that get posted here either by clarifying the content right there in the discussion board or stating that I'll address it in the next seated class session. Okay, so it's a way for us to keep in communication about the content that you're working on. All right. Okay, so let's now, that's Blackboard. I guess I should talk about a couple other things here too. Let's see. I mean, these are kind of self-explanatory, but like I'll post announcements here and these always connect to something in the course that I'm trying to draw your attention to. So that's why I post announcements instead of like using Telegram or a different messaging or something. It's because if it's here, then it can connect to what it is I'm asking you to look at. So I'll be doing that. I'm not using email that much for this class, and we'll talk about the communication plan in a minute. The calendar will populate once I get all the assignments in there, and then you'll be able to see like when certain things are due and whatnot. I find this a little confusing, but I know that some people are using it in other classes and they're really liking it. So maybe that will happen for us as well. And then, of course, the syllabus is already here. You've already accessed that. The course orientation. This tab will have a number of different items in it that will be helpful for you throughout the class, not just for the beginning here. But links to the technologies we'll use, just a picture of the communication guide that I'm going to go over in a minute, and a couple of other items will be added here that you'll keep coming back to. Okay. And then, of course, content. This is where all the modules will be, and then within each of the folders will be everything that you need. And then, of course, all your grades will be tracked. This is interesting. Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at a student view, and I don't usually see a student view, so that's why I was like thrown off. I guess this is what you see. I don't know. Mine doesn't look the same. So. But anyway, all your grades will be on Blackboard, so you'll always be able to see what your grades are and kind of track how everything is. Okay. Let's go on back to the PowerPoint. I'm hoping that I can make this work in the way that it needs to from current slide, and I need to swap this. Okay, this video is a little longer than I wanted it to be. So, now, aside from Blackboard, we'll also be using some other technologies in the class. These are the major tools we'll be using, and some of these are already linked to our Blackboard site. I've chosen tools that work across platforms like iOS and Android and Windows, and ones that I see teachers using or have been reviewed very positively by many users, and especially educators. I really try to focus on education specifically. It's important that everyone understand that this hybrid course will likely require you to use some forms of technology that you have not in the past. I have learned a great deal just in creating this course for all of you, and I'm barely scratching the surface of all the many amazing tech tools there are to enhance our own teaching. Learning new tools such as Padlet, if you haven't used that before, or Telegram, or even some of these other ones that maybe you haven't used as much, they required me to do a little research, watch some help videos, and just experiment a little. And this is something that you'll need to become more and more comfortable doing as a teacher, not just for this class, but throughout your career. So I need you to recognize that the time that you put into learning any new technology tool for this course is time that you're also investing in becoming more adept with educational technology that K-12 teachers are using all the time. This is going to be our major form of communication with one another and within our group. These you're going to be using to do activities and assignments. Padlet we're also going to be using to do assignments. Screen capturing you're going to be using to create presentations that you'll share with your peers. And then you do need a computer, okay, to do a lot of the work for this class. And sometimes you'll need to bring either a tablet or a laptop to class to present something. And if you need to, you can borrow. I mean, I have access to tablets and laptops that you can borrow if it's necessary. But especially, you can't do this class on an iPhone. You're going to have something a little bit more robust. Okay? All right. We're going to stop this here.